Hi, everyone. I'm Liza Wheel, the founder of Gatehouse Admissions, and I'm here for 5 questions with Rachel Nelson, one of our amazing consultants here at Gatehouse. Well, I want to jump right in. So, when you were in college at Harvard, you were a rower. So, anything about being a student athlete that carries over to the coaching you do now at Gatehouse?
Absolutely. So I think the primary thing is it really forced me to learn time management and prioritization. That's something I carry over. Obviously, it encouraged my competitive side and my desire to succeed and to compete. And then I think the last thing, and this is somewhat I think specific to rowing in particular, is just the degree of teamwork required to be successful. I played on other types of teams before, but I had never been on a team where your ability to work with other people and to almost anticipate what they were going to do, what they would need, became so crucial. So I feel like those three things are certainly things that I use today. Gatehouse, but have carried through my entire career.
All right. Well, I have another question about those early influences. You grew up on the East Coast in the United States, but now you're in the Cotswolds in England. How has your time abroad in the UK shaped the kind of consultant that you are?
So I think the main thing is just understanding that there's lots of different ways that things can be done. I obviously grew up on the East Coast, as you mentioned, and learned a certain way of doing things or certain expectations of what I would do in school and out of school. And so I think moving to another place, even I've moved to a lot of places within the U.S. All these experiences helped me to realize that there's lots of different ways to be successful, to make an impact, to be a leader, and that it doesn't always have to be done the same way or maybe the way that I grew up with or was familiar with. And so I think the more that I've been exposed to different ways that people are successful and really make an impact in their community, the more that I'm able to kind of tease it out with clients and also remind myself that I think it can be very tempting for clients to try to fit themselves into a cookie cutter mold. And the reality is, admissions committees are generally looking for somebody to be themselves, to really help the committee understand what makes them unique. And so I think our jobs as consultants is really to help the client figure out what those things are and then package them up in a way that the admissions committee understands. And I do feel like living in a lot of different places and now living outside of the US has helped me to see, kind of what some of those different things are.
Well, speaking a little bit more about clients, you've worked with a lot of clients here at Gatehouse through the years. Name the most essential characteristics of a successful client.
So I think the first thing is flexibility. The application process is long and arduous. And there are honestly a lot of things that are outside of the applicant or even the consultant's control. Things like your GMAT score, or maybe your recommender goes on maternity leave, or you don't get the promotion that you were hoping for in the time scale you thought. So all of these things can be a disappointment. And so I think the key thing for an applicant is just to kind of roll with it, do your best to put your best foot forward regardless of the circumstances. Second thing is being motivated, being diligent, being driven, really pushing to get things done in a timely manner so we're not scrambling at the 11th hour. It's not pleasant for anybody, but it also genuinely or doesn't produce the best outcome. So I think the more that people can be moving themselves along the process without relying on me to be kind of prodding them through things, is better. And then the last thing is really the more that clients can open themselves up to the admissions committee and help the AdCom understand who they are, the better off they'll be. And in particular, it's kind of about being vulnerable or being honest. Really, it's not oversharing or trying to make your application dramatic, but it's helping the admissions committee to understand who you are, what motivates you, what your values are. Even in a basic question around your goals, understanding why these goals are the ones that you picked, right? You could do absolutely anything with an MBA from a good business school. So why is this what you've set out to do? And so the more that you can help, the business school understand that, the more successful you'll be.
All right, so digging a little bit more into the coaching work that you do, what moment in your coaching do you love most?
So there's actually probably two. At Gatehouse, we start the process with an experience inventory, which is pretty detailed. and really digs into a lot about the client's history. Some of the things I talked about: values, childhood, successes, responsibilities, goals. And so for me, reading that is really a window into somebody's life. It's almost like being a therapist, but in a really nice way. It's just a great opportunity to learn about somebody. And it's a really good jumping off point also for obviously working through essays and the rest of the person's application. And then I would say the other thing is we spend a lot of time as consultants iterating through drafts of documents. And so particularly with a client, maybe on the first school, somebody that you've just started working with, usually there's a moment in the essays of that first school. It could be second, third draft, maybe it's the eighth, but there's a moment where the draft starts to fit together and work, whether it's the thesis starts to really become coherent or the conclusion or the way the stories flow. But there's just this moment where it kind of clicks, and it makes me feel happy and kind of it's gratifying. But also from the client perspective, you can see somebody almost take like a visible sigh of relief, like a sense that actually, yes, I've put my faith in you to help me and we're going to be successful together. And so, I don't want to call it like an aha moment, but it's just a really nice feeling. And in particular, back to the kind of talk about teamwork, it really is when it starts to feel like we have a partnership and we can work together and kind of rely on each other to get where we need to go.
That's great. I do love those moments. I know those moments where it's good for us too to start to see that end game and where the essays are going to go. Okay, well, last question. What about Gatehouse? Tell me something that you particularly value about working here.
So for me, it's really the team. I love working with you and the other consultants. So I think we have a really nice structure where we can work together, where we share ideas, review documents, even if it's just kind of, bouncing ideas off of someone. It's nice to feel like you have colleagues who are supportive. And I feel like everybody at Gatehouse is just a really high caliber of person who's really devoted to clients and to the outcome. And so I think, I guess being kind of the competitive nature that I have, it's nice to be with people who also similarly are really working to do their best for clients and to deliver the best outcome.
Well, thank you so much, Rachel. For those of you watching, I hope you got a good sense of who Rachel is. If you'd like to learn more about Rachel, definitely reach out to Gatehouse Admissions, sign up for a free consultation, check out her bio or reviews as well. Thanks, everybody, and take care.